Pastor Norval Pease, the Depression years. He came to the Renton church straight out of college. He was an area coordinator and a tent meeting evangelist. He was a Bible teacher at Auburn Academy, and he would go on to be president of La Sierra College for 10 years. Pastor Robert Adams was here at the end of World War II, where he ran our first choir. He must have been something pretty special, because while he was only here for a year, when he left for his next assignment, half the Renton church followed him to Weiser, Idaho. He had a radio show here and a radio show there. He also worked at the Idaho Conference Office. Pastor Coy came to us from Kansas City. He sang first tenor in the Washington Conference male vocal group known as the Bible Prophecy Speaks Quartet. He started as a literature evangelist and a singing evangelist. He also was a very good carpenter. In 1946, Pastor J. Gregory Ziegler was the pastor at Renton Church for less than a year. He worked as a pastor for 35 years, but in 1943, he was the teacher at Clear Lake School near Cedro-Woolley, where he taught Clem Martin in the first and second grade. Ray Michael would be the pastor at the Renton Church from 1946 to 1948. From here, he would go to Olympia. From Olympia, he went to Portland, where he would start United Medical Laboratories, where Max Mace and the Rose City Singers got their start. 1948 to 1952, Pastor Walter Ruddle was a family man. They raised 3 daughters and a son, and he was happily married for 55 years until his wife passed away. He surprised everyone he knew when at age 93 he went parachuting. When he was at Renton, he also pastored Kent and Auburn. William Dopp, 1952 to 1956. He loved music programs and brought in special guests to make programs interesting. No one bigger than Desmond T. Doss on a Sabbath afternoon. Unfortunately, Dopp died at 44 years of age of a brain aneurysm. Thomas Spindle, 1956 to 1957. He was credited with starting the Federal Way Church in July 1960. Sadly, Pastor Spindle, who was a pilot, flew his plane into a mountain in British Columbia near Summit Lake on August 6, 1969. Pastor Clarence Shepard, 1957 to 1959. He came from the missionary field in South Africa. 2 critical decisions were made at this time period. The first was to buy a double parcel of land in the Renton Highlands to build a new church for the facility that they had outgrown. And the second was to change their constituency from Buena Vista School in Auburn to the Kirkland School in Kirkland, Washington. Pastor Halvard J. Thompson, 1959 to 1961. They tried unsuccessfully to sell the Little White Church, and so chose to spend $350 to make the Little White Church last a little while longer. They also hired Don Kirkman to be the architect in designing the new church facility. They chose to divide the project into 2 sections. Phase 1 would be the social hall and basement. Phase 2 would be the main sanctuary. Pastor Charles Betts, 1961 to 1963. He came to us from Texas and authored several books. On April 1st, 1961, groundbreaking took place for the foundation of the Phase 1 church facility. Florence Crum, Washington State pioneer and charter member of the 1930s Renton Church, held one of the shovels. Pastor Roy Hennenberg, 1963 to 1965. He spoke both English and Spanish. He was the last Adventist out of Havana, where he experienced the Cuban Revolution firsthand. We sold the Little White Church for $4,740, and we completed the Phase 1 Social Hall project for about $54,000. Pastor Robert Skinner, 1965 to 1968. We shared our pastor with the Kent Adventist Church. On Sunday, April 2, 1967, once again, there was a groundbreaking ceremony, this time for the Phase 2 project. Art York was on hand as his family helped build the Little White Church in the 1930s. Pastor Ellsworth Wellman, 1968 to 1972, another pastor we shared with the Kent Adventist Church. Pastor Wellman played high school football in the leather helmet era and was a World War II veteran. We also had our first Pathfinder club called the Renton Rangers under the master guide leadership of Jose Acosta.
We've come this far.